Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second session under track 3 on digitalization of the plastic value chain. Welcome also to day 2 of the Circular Economy Forum. And it's so good to have you here. I'm Erin Sinogba. I am a consultant here at ADB. I'm working on a regional technical assistance project on addressing marine plastic pollution in Asia and the Pacific. And our track today will actually feature outcomes and learnings from our regional project. So track 3 covers a series of topics focused on how digital technology solutions can be applied to enable a circular economy for plastics. So we're not just going to learn about digital tools, we'll also look at the whole ecosystem approach from enabling conditions to data governance. Today, our session will focus on piloting digital solutions. We're going to explore different solutions and open data platforms for the plastics value chain and how it can help to advance plastic circularity. All right, so before we begin, I just want to go through our just a bit of house rules for the session. If we can just load the intro slides, please. All right. All right, so while that is loading, do people here understand the term digitalization? When we were doing the first session yesterday, I think that term really was new to a lot of people who don't work in this space. So basically what this is about, applying digital solutions to certain processes to achieve certain goals. So when we talk about it here, we're talking about how we can deploy digital technology solutions for enabling circularity of plastics. So today we're going to learn about certain solutions that we deployed under the TA. All right, so just some quick house rules again. For some reason, this isn't working. Okay, well, just to repeat, some house rules that we shared with you yesterday. Again, make sure that your phones and all of your other gadgets are put on silent so that you can have your and your colleagues' full attention. Our engagement will be done online, so make sure that you have your smartphones, your gadgets available to be able to submit questions and to provide comments online. And then use this time to meet your fellow colleagues and engage. This is a time to meet new people, learn about what your colleagues are doing in this space, and you can do it and have fun. All right. Again, restrooms can be found on either side of the auditoriums. Don't bring food into the room, but we will be providing refreshments outside in the break after this session. And we have knowledge products, ADB briefs, and brochures available outside, which you can get anytime and are for free. And again, if you want to share more about this event, here's the hashtag ADB Advancing Circularity, and our social media accounts. And make sure that you tag our ADB corporate accounts on Instagram or LinkedIn. All right, and make sure that you ask for consent from your colleagues. You may have noticed that we have a series of booths along this hallway as well as along the front lobby. Please take the time to explore. They're here to showcase the different solutions that they're deploying. And we hope that you can engage with them as well. Some of them are also here. Our team who is representing us in this session and are speaking about their work are from Sureka and from DT Global. And then if you want to learn more about the program, please download the event app. You'll get the updated program and other information about the forum today. All right, so I think that will be the end of my part. So let me just introduce the moderator for today's session. So my colleague Leroux Klonya is our cybersecurity expert on the Regional Technical Assistance Project and is working as technical lead for data governance, security, and cybersecurity at DT Global. All right, so welcome Leroux to the stage.
Thank you, Aaron, for that introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what happened to the crowds we had yesterday, but at least you guys are here. So this is a good time for my PC to go to sleep.
to implement because there is a structure and there are tools already in place.
Good. I see there are a lot of questions coming in, so please keep those coming. So here's another question. Have you done any pilot tests on any of these technologies in the Philippines? Are those replicable? Sorry for that, it was spelled wrong. Or are there any localization that needs to be done?
Any?
Localization that needs to be done.
So the purpose of this study was also to create a framework and methodology for it to be adapted in other cities and other countries, and to test the scalability of these solutions both in that country and in other areas. It was not done in the Philippines, but the methodology can be used to implement it here as well.
Good, thank you. Another one. Oh, that one disappeared quickly. Yes, another one. Have you done, no, we've done that one. What were the motivations for developing the waste picking apps, considering that households and waste pickers were not yet ready to use technology for these activities?
What was the?
What was the motivations for developing the waste package picking apps?
So in many of these cases, people that developed these applications were already working in waste management and with the informal sector. So they saw in a value and an opportunity in developing these applications. And in some cases, it paid off. These solutions exist for a lot of years. In some others, they were not sustainable or didn't have enough funding to continue.
Good. And then the final question quickly. Did the applications improve the collection rates or the billing?
It depends there are different cases. So in some cases, it improved waste management software, helped improve their database, remove duplicates, and have a more reliable database. So they could collect more collection fees. With these solutions, they implement waste management systems in areas where they don't exist. So they do increase collection and recycling rates. Was there any other
The
part?
billing side?
Yeah, the billing side, it was they had the client database with the waste management software. They improved the database, they made it reliable, so they were able to collect collection fees and increase their revenues.
Perfect. Thank you. I hope that answered most of your questions, but please keep those questions coming. We will be addressing some of those later on in the session as well. Thank you, Marius. Give him a hand of applause. Thank you. So for our next speaker, she's locally sourced directly from ADB. We had to twist her arm a little bit. But I'd like to introduce Angela Aquino. She's the Pasig River Plastics Digital Twin Coordinator at ADB, and she will be telling us more about digital twins. Thank you, Angela.
Thank you. Let me just adjust this. I'm not that tall, unlike our colleagues here. Hi, thank you so much for everyone who shared your thoughts in the Q&A session. There were questions about how machine learning can be used to improve detection and addressing the barriers, as Mario's answered earlier, and their motivations for using the applications. So building on what Marios mentioned earlier, first I would like to ask, like, who here follows the ADB social media platforms? Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram? Yeah, I'm happy to see a few hands, but I would highly recommend for people to follow these social media platforms by ADB because I have learned something new, which I will discuss today, that I have learned from those social media platforms by ADB. So for me, I will discuss about the journey for digital transformation, especially for developing countries, and what can or what should we do to achieve digital transformation like the countries that Marios shared earlier.
I think my colleagues will be relieved that there is not a digital twin of myself running around somewhere in Manila. Thank you for that, so that we can understand what digital twins means. So it's again time to maybe respond to some of your questions that you've been posting. I see there's a lot of questions coming in. So Marius, if you would join me on stage, then we can post those questions to you. And Angela, sorry. So if you have questions about the digital twins, please post that to that link that we've shared. There's an interesting question that I saw. Just want to open it up. Okay, this one is, I think, for you, Marius. What particular challenges to a countrywide digital waste management did you observe, and how can governments take a bigger role in this?
Well, in scaling the waste management.
Applications, yeah.
Well, as said before, for plastics, the main actors in recycling, in collecting and recycling plastics, is the informal sector. So to set up waste management systems and applications for plastic circularity, the informal sector is essential. So the main challenge would be to integrate them and get them to use these platforms. So as we said, one of the effective ways that we saw is to internalize some of these waste pickers and informal sector, but this is still quite limited. But another thing that is effective is to create waste picker groups, waste picker associations that can still be informal or under a different structure, under a different regime, but still have a structure that will be much more easily integrated and connected with digital solutions.
Good, thank you. Angela, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I did some study sometime last year, and I think in on a way to one way to include the informal waste sector into the digital transformation is to understand what, maybe do a survey, like what do you want to gain from being part of the digital transformation or being part of the applications that we provide. So what would be their buy-in? And in my survey last year, one of the outputs is that they want healthcare, because if you are like always in front of waste, so there's this chance of you getting sick of the fumes and the toxic that you get. And there are times in my survey that said they would get cuts from collecting the trash that has broken glass. So healthcare would be a good way for government to provide help to these informal waste sector. And I think Marius also shared this to me the other day, that it jives with the data that they got, that the informal waste sector really do care about getting healthcare. And maybe this is how the government can get the buy-in of the informal waste sector to join in the applications.
Oh, thank you.
To add something to that, there was a big social inclusion component in the project, and there was a seminar on the 6th of June, I think, a webinar. You can find it on the AD platform, where we present all the findings into including the informal sector. And there is also a knowledge product on this that you can find outside.
Good. Here's another question. Can EPR schemes be a source of funding for these applications?
Yes, it can be a source of funding, but what we saw is that at the moment, these EPR fundings are allocated into other activities. These solutions are not visible to PROs. So that's why we suggested a framework that guides organizations on how to allocate these funds.
You don't want to add anything, please?
All right. So just something to maybe give an idea to the government. So I'm not sure if we have other countries in here. So do you have Philippines or other countries in Southeast Asia? All right. So far, so what I know about the EPR implementation here in the Philippines is that there are a lot of NGOs and other private institutions or organizations that provide digital platforms for EPR. So what we need, so what can the government do regarding this? So the government can have a centralized digital platform so that they can easily monitor the EPR practices and programs of the PROs that are registered to them so that we can actually see if they are actually processing the right type of plastics that they produce. So, for example, they're trying to lower the weight of the plastics that they use. But then, are these the actual plastics that they process in their EPR programs? So, those kinds of information can be put into digital platforms that the government can monitor so that they can properly regulate and evaluate the success or the actual process of the EPR programs, if they're actually achieving the right kind of waste diversion that they should be doing.
Excellent. Here's a very interesting question. Are there pilots of digital solutions, including for the monitoring of microplastics?
There are some pilots that exist. Our project had a focus on marine pollution. So we studied, a part of our study was for pollution in water bodies. So we found solutions that monitor microplastics in the ocean through sensors on boats or through surveys, punctual surveys, either by private organizations, NGOs, or even through citizen science. So they upload some of these in open source platforms.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more. I think so. Yes, a very interesting question that I thought speaks to a lot of what we did. No, I just need to find it. How do we factor in tailor fitting for local context? What back-end work are needed to launch such a model? And I think they're referring to that AI model system of yours.
Okay. The AI models, the one that we saw was already developed in this regional context. So as we said before, it can be retrained easily with new images to be adapted to the specific context of that new location. And so it can be retrained and become accurate in every new location.
Good. Thank you, guys, for your insights. Please keep those questions coming, and even through the next presentation, because at the end of the session, we will deal with some of the additional questions. So for our next speaker, we will be diving into open data platforms, how to create these, what are the critical success factors of making these work, and how do you visualize and showcase then the data collected in those data models. So let me introduce you to Emilio Lopez Cano. He holds a PhD from Rey Juan Carlos University in Information Systems Engineering. He also has a master's degree in Decision Systems Engineering from Rey Juan Carlos University. He also has a bachelor's degree in Applied Statistics and a diploma in Statistics from Complutense University of Madrid. He's also an associate professor at the Rey Juan Carlos University, where he joined the High Performance Research Program in Data Science Fundamentals and Applications in 2020. Previously, he was a professor and researcher at the University of Castella-La Mancha since 2010 and a statistician, computer scientist in private sector companies for 14 years. Thank you, Emilio. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Laru. Thank you, everyone, for coming to this session. I will continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Emilio. You can stay on stage. I think we have time to quickly answer two more questions. Marius and Angela, if you would like to join me here. I have a question for you, Angela, specifically requested for you. So if you have any questions about the open data platform, please post that and let's see if we have time to respond to those. So Angela, someone wants to know what good practice government could benefit from to integrate people into digital transformation, capacity building with the private sector.
We're supposed to sit down, apparently.
Yeah, sit.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Okay. What good practice government could benefit from to integrate people into digital transformation? And the second part, capacity building with the private sector.
So first, I thank you for that wonderful question. And so I think that's a really good question because the government are asking the right questions. So this is specifically for the private sector, right? So they must try to understand first where the position of the private sector in relation to digital transformation. Are they on the digitization stage? Are they in the digitalization stage? Do they record the information that they have? Do they process and use this information um, in trying to understand their waste characterization, their waste process, and their waste? If there's a pattern in their waste, or are they doing something with this information to change the way they monitor, they regulate, and they process their systems and their products. So that's the number one thing. They need to have the right data, and they need to have these conversations with this private sector to understand these information. And then next is um know themselves, the government themselves. They should know like how um which part are they in this digital transformation stage, and what they can give this private sector. Like for example, there is a I believe that in the DNR there's this monitoring tool for supposedly launched. I'm not sure if of its current status, but it's supposedly launched last year for the municipalities to monitor their waste production. But do they already have this sort of platform for the private sector for them to report on their waste characterization and their waste production? So they need the number one thing that they need to do is get data, and then from there decide on what else they need to do on the road to digital transformation.
Good, thank you. I see we're almost out of time, so I'm going to wrap this up with one last question. I think, Marius, to you, have you tried looking at the plastic flow in terms of the seasonal variations using those AI vision models?
Our pilot was very, very brief. There was a first pilot that was conducted to test the feasibility of this type of model, and our pilot was conducted to see if the implementation and the accuracy of the model can be replicated and scaled into other locations. So it was in a brief period, and we didn't have time to do this kind of studies.
Perfect, thank you. I think that concludes the Q&A for now. Feel free, if you have any other questions, to engage directly with the presenters after this. I'm not going to sum up everything now. If I can do it in 30 seconds, I would probably say that there are a lot of solutions out there. There are business models out there feeding into those business solutions. We are collecting data about plastic waste and plastic waste management. That data can be pulled into one single open data platform from different sources, and then we can visualize that data to make visible what is invisible currently. So In our next session, we'll be talking about the glue that holds all of this together, which is data governance. How do we make all of this work, and what is needed to be effective in that space? Thank you very much. I think, Erin, if there's some housekeeping you want to do, you're welcome to quickly come up and do that. Thank you guys for the participation, and we'll see you after this.